Have you ever played a game with seemingly infinite possibilities? Pokemon? Not if you're Finnish. Femboy Maker 69? Just me? But what if I told you there really was a game with infinite possibilities? A game with an infinite amount of content, dozens of unique classes, and thousands of creatures to collect, team up, gear up, fight against, and fuse together for an even more absurd amount of combinations than anything you've ever played before. A game that mashes all your favorite franchises into one endlessly replayable one and sets the dial up to 11 so you never have to look for another game again, and all at a very reasonable price. That game is Siralim Ultimate. Siralim Ultimate is a creature collector RPG dungeon crawler hybrid, as well as many other things, created by Zach, and is the final and objectively best entry in the long-standing Siralim series. A series of games where players focus on jerking the gherkin while simultaneously holding down the E key for 10 hours straight. No, but seriously, Siralim is a criminally lesser known series that, much like I alluded to before, takes inspiration from many beloved franchises and genres, like Pokemon, Shin Megami Tensei, Diablo, roguelikes, and more, splicing together the best elements of each into one genuinely mind-blowing game. It originated in April of 2015 with the simply named Siralim, the same year of undeniable masterpieces like These Nuts and What Are Those? So of course it was a tough year to top. But little did people know that while they were obsessing over shitty memes, one of the best franchises ever made was just getting started. And as the years flew by, Zach kept iterating on the addictive formula he initially brewed up, eventually creating Siralim 2 in 2016, which heavily refined many things, Siralim 3 in 2018, which introduced numerous new features, and Siralim Ultimate in 2021. The clear ultimate version of the series that completely overhauled everything the previous games had done, and polished off all the systems as well as introduced completely new ones in a way that is significantly more palatable, shall we say, to the vast majority of people. These years of constant iteration, development, and refinement ultimately, no pun intended, culminated in a game that provided limitless possibilities for players to choose from. A game that they would get so addicted to and spend so many hours in that many of them would stop playing anything else altogether. Now, this might sound bad to some.
Let me tell you something real quick, Sonny. In life, there's a good and a bad kind of addiction. Being addicted to gambling means you can win big at any moment and change your whole life around. Being addicted to fitness means you're just missing out on all that sweet processed dopamine you could be having instead. And what's a life without some fun?
Frickin' hobos, man. I really gotta start shutting my windows. Anyway, Siralim Ultimate might be addictive, much like any other good game, but as long as that is managed in moderation, I think you'll be happy playing it. More than happy, in fact, as you'll be saving your sanity and money from all those greedy AAA executives and their dogshit microtransaction-riddled hellscapes with your new Forever game. And with all that boring contextual setup out of the way, I think it's time we get to the actual fun part of the video. Those supposed infinite possibilities Siralim Ultimate holds. Now, let's get real deep and romantical with this game for a moment. Siralim Ultimate offers over 1,200 creatures in total, each with their own unique traits which are way cooler than Pokemon abilities for reference. While a single ability like Multiscale from Dragonite or even Greninja's Protein can indeed change the course of a battle, traits in Siralim are often much more synergistic and impactful, more in line with Weather or Trick Room teams if you're a Poke nerd, and can lead to some absolutely backshit combos more in the vein of something like Isaac or Balatro, simultaneously forming the core foundations of most of the fun to be had here. Though a one-off Drizzle team with Pelipper and mons like Swift Swim Kingdra and Dry Skin Toxicroak can feel like a dream combo in the world of Pokemon, this ain't Pokemon, kiddo, and every single team you're aiming to cook up in Siralim has that same kind of synergy, much like me and your mom. example, creatures like Ifrits that activate additional effects on debuffs like burning can be used in conjunction with other creatures that apply or extend that debuff to make some nasty lockdowns, or the swift incineration of enemies. More individually, creatures like the Arcus Vulpus with traits that significantly enhance damage from spells outside its class, which is something we're gonna get onto a bit later, just be patient little Timmy, can be utilized with other creatures like Pandora that automatically cast 5 random spells at the start of the battle for insane nuke damage, although depending on your luck, not just on enemies. And all of this is just scratching the surface, like your ex thinking your flaccid micro pee was its final form. There are literally tens of thousands of these types of combos just off of traits alone, meaning it really is as much of a theory crafter's wet dream as a group of Discord mods visiting Japan for the very first time. What really pushes all of this into the realm of infinite possibility though has gotta be the fusion system. If 1200 plus creatures with highly unique traits, stats and appearances weren't already enough, even though that would easily keep you satisfied for thousands of hours on its own, the game's creator also thought it'd be a great idea to let you fuse those creatures together to combine all the aforementioned things and turn the stupendification scale all the way up. You like the look of that cute ice cream alien and wish you could mix it with sweaty fat British man who peed and pooed himself into a Frankenstein-like state after looking at the current state of the country? Well, you're in luck, because in Siralim Ultimate you could do just that. Behold, Fat Ice Cream Man. Or pee-pee poo-poo flavored ice cream alien. Regardless of whether the traits even synergize or the creatures belong to the same class or race, there are absolutely zero limitations to fusion in this game, unlike some lesser known Atlas games. You can fuse any creatures your heart desires, and while it might not be as visually cool as those Pokemon sprite fusions from 17 years ago, thank me later for unlocking memories you completely forgot about, the strategic implications you always wanted are still there, like a Poison Hill Blissey that never dies, or a Wonder Guard Spiritomb that never dies. The scary thing though is that all of this synergy is also perfectly complemented by the player classes, of which there are 43 in total that are all ridiculously unique, all with dozens of perks that amplify a wide variety of strategies, ranging from fast critical one-shot builds to those that are slow and steady and get way stronger as the turns fly by, and all the thousands of other things in between. These classes can of course enhance your combos significantly, and all start with their very own special starter creatures that are usually much stronger than anything else you can find at the beginning of the game. Sound familiar? One thing to keep in mind though is that for every strong approach in Siralim, there's always a just as strong counter strategy that can completely shut you down. Confidence is after all a slow and insidious killer, so you will have to plan ahead and adapt, especially if you want to defeat the game's strongest foes. Whether you want to be an edgelord Hell Knight with the skin of Siralim's God of Darkness, or a pyromancer chicken that enacts karmic revenge for what humanity has done to your entire species with KFC, the world is your oyster in Siralim Ultimate, thanks in large part to the boundless costume and decoration system the game also holds, really allowing for roleplay in a whole new way. But that's not all. Not even close. Remember when I said you can gear up your creatures in this game? I didn't just mean you could slap dildos on their heads and ride off into the sunset like some kind of troglodyte unicorns. No. I meant that there are also a vast amount of artifacts and spell gems that you can equip your creatures with that could boost their stats, abilities, and yes, even give them more traits to play around with. As if the game wasn't already crazy enough, each of your creatures are able to outfit themselves with one of 5 different powerful artifacts: swords, staves, shields, boots, and helmets, all of which boosting different stats. But much like your head after unjustly perving on Lady Dimitrescu one too many times, these artifacts also have 8 socktable slots inside of them in which you can place all kinds of things.
Such as gemstones that could boost up to 2 different stats for your creatures. Trick materials which give your creatures additional effects like increased crit chance or a chance to gain certain buffs. Trait materials that excitingly offer your creatures additional traits to play with, and the exceedingly rare nether stones, which offer overwhelming power at the cost of being the rarest items in the game.
all of which you can find while roaming the various realms of Siralim, which we'll get onto shortly. Oh, and he forgot, spell gems can also be equipped to artifacts, meaning your creatures will automatically cast them, which conveniently moves me onto the topic of spells and spell gems, the other portion of what your creatures will be gearing up with. Please take it away, Lady Enchantress.
Oh yes! Well, in Siralim we have 5 different classes that creatures are automatically categorized by: Chaos, Life, Sorcery, Nature, and Death. Not to be confused with player classes, also known as specializations. These are the classes that make up spell gems in our wonderful little kingdom. The effects of spells that can be casted by each class are quite diverse, ranging from usual healer/paladin stuff from the Life class to summoning minions and debuffing foes by the Death class, and are essential to survival in the harsh realms of Siralim, especially when you come into contact with the previous... Oh no, please don't take me back to the dungeon master, please, no!
What a troublesome woman that Enchantress is sometimes. Oh well. I hope that didn't trouble you much. There really isn't anything for us to hide. There's certainly not any kind of story or lore for you to discover as you play the game. That would be preposterous. Moving on. A question that often arises with regards to games like Siralim Ultimate is,
well, that's cool. There seems to be a lot of sweet stuff for me to try out and have fun with, but how do I actually get all this stuff?
well, you're on your own. Nah, but I think we spent long enough without me mentioning the other main meat and potatoes of the actual gameplay itself. You see, Siralim ain't all about cockfighting other creatures as much as I might want it to be. I'd say around 50% of the gameplay is spent in this kick-ass Pokemon / Shin Megami Tensei style battle system, but you get a nice look at all the Gen 4-esque sprites of the creatures you are using and going against, while the other 50% of the gameplay is spent delving through realms that feel vaguely reminiscent of the general gameplay loop of many roguelikes, like Tales of Major or the Mystery Dungeon games, except without the getting one shot from across the map by something you didn't even know about. And that's because all the risk in Siralim is taken inside of the actual battles themselves, as if you die in them, you are transported straight out of the level, whereas the exploration of the realms is more just a satisfying collectathon where you go around picking up resources, loot, like that mentioned earlier, running into enemies, and winning over the favor of the god of whichever realm you are currently traversing, of which there are 31.
Whoa, those guys look cool, man!
Yeah, chill out, little Timothy. All these realms are very different to one another, ranging from cutthroat jungles that want nothing more than to put your head on a stake with the god of anger himself screaming in your ear every 2 seconds, all the way to distant planets at the edge of eternity where time has stopped completely as the god of time shapes reality to be whatever he wants. All with their own unique tile set, visual effects, and soundtrack that, might I add, is absolutely fucking banging, mate. Especially in 8-bit, meaning that it is genuinely quite difficult to get bored with all that variety at your fingertips. Each realm serves a different purpose in terms of what you can get out of them too, as some like the Gambler's Hive allow you to collect tickets to gamble with and potentially win big, whilst others like the Arachnid's Nest have an increased chance for dumplings to spawn, which are for all intents and purposes metal slimes from Dragon Quest, meaning it's a great XP grinding spot. These bonuses will advance further and further as you gain more favor with the gods, which plays a large part in just how satisfying all this realm exploring actually feels, only rivaled by other forms of exploration we shall not mention on this holy Christian broadcast. Needless to say, realms also contain different kinds of creatures, meaning that depending on what build you're actively working towards, or what build you're potentially interested in experimenting with, you little cheater, you will be constantly visiting both new and old realms, specifically to see what creatures they now hold. Did I mention that this game also never ends? And the main story consists of 65 unique depths, which are basically just flaws in any normal roguelike game, and those depths go all the way down to 999 plus, so you can kinda see just how much you can play Siralim Ultimate if you want to. And you will want to. All the while, you'll be constantly unlocking new things with projects and hitting milestones like never before, leading to a sense of accomplishment you could only wish for in your real life. What's also very obvious to me is that Zach has spent quite a lot of time thinking about the accessibility of the game, as what's a good game if you can't even get into it? In the options menu, there are 10 different difficulty options for you to choose from, which are simply labeled 0 to 9, that help make the game as easy or difficult as you want it to be. An alternate font you can use for easier reading, a colorblind mode, multiple different zoom options, a toggle for some of the visual effects such as weather effects, all kinds of different toggles for various in-game HUD elements, a turbo mode so battles can go by faster, and of course a freaking mobile port so you can crank out some Siralim Ultimate at the family barbecue where your granddad is going on about how
Back in his day.
he beat a gorilla to death with just his little toe, on a strict diet of nothing but horse meat and kangaroo liver, all while working 23 hours a day with 10-minute power naps for the bajillionth time. Because,
That's what a man does.
and yes, by the end of the game, you even get to fight the gods themselves. The amount of cool stuff Siralim Ultimate has that I didn't even get to go in depth about, like exotic and avatar creatures, anointments, relics, the Rune of Prophecies, nether portals, the Gate of the Gods, challenge modes, netherstones, super bosses, and so much more, is absolutely staggering and should really tell you just how big and broad this game is. He really is a honk. And unlike other modern day creature collector games, where the developers can't even be asked to implement basic fucking features, Siralim Ultimate is on an undeniable upward trajectory, with new updates coming constantly that introduce tons of new things, including more creatures. Heck, a new patch is even in the works currently that is set to add stuff like 3 brand spanking new classes, loads of new creatures, and big additions to the game's netherstone system. Oh, and they also recently ported it to Nintendo Switch, just to add more insult to injury. Stuff that will without a doubt keep me coming back time and time again, as I sit in my creaky old wheelchair at age 95 with my grandkids and their grandkids screaming for me to go play the new Fortnite x MrBeast Cryogenics collab after his body had to be frozen due to wide-scale riots from him pitting 10,000 kids against the Incredible Hulk. It didn't end well. But I will be there, locked in my room with my Neuralink blasting new ads into my brain every 0.3 seconds and my stained PC, since I won't even be able to wipe my own ass at that point, playing Siralim Ultimate, the game with infinite possibilities. And if that video tickled your pickle, why not check this one out about the sci-fi game you can play forever.